commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another live edition of Veteran Nation. And joining me, as always, is the heralded T.C. Pearson up in the Great White North. He is our Northern Correspondent Bureau Chief. T.C., how you doing?
Upper Midwest Correspondent and Regional Bureau Chief for Red America.
He definitely has control over the areas of Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Canada.
I wish I had control over the area of Minnesota.
It's a crazy time that we live in, isn't it?
As bad as it is here, I couldn't possibly make it worse.
Oh, I just realized I probably sound far away because my mic was far away. It's been an interesting week. A lot of things are going on in the news. I know the big one I want to talk about is Patriot Front, but I do want to see if there's anything that you want to talk to or talk about before we get into that.
Well, I thought I had sent you something. I know I did. I did send you something, but I can't remember what it was now.
Oh, the homeless. The homeless in New York City.
Oh, yeah. Folks, Skipper does this once a week. I do this numerous times a week, so if I seem discombobulated today, it's yeah, I am. No, yeah, so we're now busing in illegal migrant from south of the border. Allegedly, there's a massive camp way down by Venezuela where these people are coming in from China and other areas, and we're busing them in. There's caravans of buses every day, and Texas' response to this, along with other states now, is to bus them to states with cities that offer themselves as sanctuary cities for the illegals. One of those being New York City. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here in the great Republic of the United States, New York City has now started to kick homeless veterans out of hotels that were being paid for by the city and by the state of New York, kicking them out of those hotels, putting them back out on the street to make room for illegal border crossers.
Mm-hmm. And there's been a trend out there that, I'm involved with this show, and on my social media I'm involved in a lot of veteran circles, and I'm seeing a lot of people have signs and shirts and stuff that say veterans before homeless. And this is the absolute complete opposite of that. in fact, this does tie into something that has been brought to my attention that I haven't done any videos about, but I mainly want to go to Los Angeles and look into this myself. And that is, there's a part of LA, it's right next to Beverly Hills, where 100 years ago, like, tons of acreage, it's like 30 acres were donated to the city of Los Angeles to be used for a soldiers and sailors home. And there is a VA there. There is a soldiers and sailors home. However, this land has been repurposed. For instance, they've put up dormitories for the University of Southern California on this land. That's not what this land was donated for. In fact, a big thing right now is they've demolished the parking lot. There was a large parking structure for the veterans who were going into the VA hospital there. That was demolished, and now it's being turned into a metro stop. So again, this land that is supposed to be for us veterans is being used for just whatever LA city wants to use it for. And there's a lot of veterans talking about it. I would like to personally put out there, if anyone knows any groups out there who are trying to fight this, because I got a feeling the only way this is going to be done is if us veterans band together and sue the city of Los Angeles, because right now homelessness in LA is just out of control. Veteran homelessness is out of control. So we shouldn't be putting in metro stops. What we should be doing is putting up, kicking those students off. It's a private school. They can build their own dorms somewhere else in LA. But that land, we should be taking those buildings and giving them to homeless veterans.
Yeah, I can't, several months ago I brought up the fact that, the VA struggles to take care of their people they're supposed to. And, states like Minnesota do very little for the veterans out of the coffers of the state. And then we turn around here in Minnesota and we fly in and bus in Ukrainian nationals, not Ukrainian Americans who went over to Ukraine to fight, which don't get me started on that. But Ukrainian nationals who have been evacuated from the battlefield in Ukraine and brought to the state of Minnesota to be fitted for prosthetic limbs. Well, we can't even take care of our own vets.
Yeah.
And people could make the argument, well, what if it's a private organization that's doing that? Well, fine, that's all well and good. Where are they for the veterans of the United States?
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of ties into something that the guys were talking about on Council of Colonels and in the previous to us coming on, and that was they were talking about China's reach across the globe. China's branching into all sorts of places in Asia and the Middle East. They're branching off into Africa and other places, and even into South America. And they were juxtaposing that with the threat that China poses to us. And the reason this ties in is that China is not doing anything different than what the U.S. regimists have been doing for years by inserting American power out into the world, Asia, Africa,
I thought you were
Middle
going to
East.
say killing U.S. presidents, but yeah, we've done that too.
Yeah.
Where's conspiracy,
but,
Kitty?
But the reason I bring that up is to what we're at is we're so busy looking outward at potential threats or even fabricated threats. Look at the propaganda war against Putin. And Putin's a bad guy. He's an evil guy. He's a dictator. He's a tyrant. But so is Zelensky. So is Xi. They all are. But and they've all committed war crimes. So is the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so busy focusing on that we're not addressing these issues that we need to be addressing in our own nation with our own people who have put their lives on the line very often for wars of aggression that are meant to spread democracy and only succeed in devastating the landscape of those places where we go.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And here we are now welcoming in a bunch of people from around the world, oftentimes from places that we are either in conflict with, potentially in conflict with, or, flat out hostile towards, at the same time as kicking our own vets out of shelter.
Yeah.
Our priorities we're too. Can we stop looking at what's going on in the rest of the world just for a minute? Put our troops on the border where they belong. Pull them out of places like Sudan. Pull them out of places like Syria. Pull them out of any place else where we are in the world, anywhere in the world. Japan, Okinawa, Korea, anywhere they are in Europe. Pull everybody out. Bring them all back home. Put them on our borders. With Canada too, by the way, because I love my Canadian friends, but I don't want you people coming down here right now. I'm done. But put them on our borders. That's what they're supposed to be for. Defending our borders. Save the money that we save doing that. We could take care of all of our homeless vets. We could take care of all of our wounded veterans.
Mm-hmm.
We could take care of all of our aging veterans without ever raising another dime of tax dollars to do it. But we're out poking the
And
bear,
we have
poking the panda.
precedent of doing that. People are like, oh, we can't, the military could never secure the border. Yes, they can, and we've done it before. General Blackjack Pershing did it before we entered into World War II. He went down and was firing, or he was up against Pancho Villa. He actually went a little bit further, and he kind of invaded Mexico, northern Mexico. But he proved it doesn't take much, just a couple battalions, and you can secure our southern border, absolutely. And, very effectively.
Oh. And I will acknowledge active duty and National Guard troops have been deployed to the border
Yes.
in Mexico, with Mexico. They have been deployed in the last couple of weeks. Not to secure it.
Yes.
To expedite processing, folks.
Yes. And it's sad because as we pointed out, we have our VA that's absolutely failing. In fact, I will say one good thing. As I've told on this show, I've had an open request. Now, I've got a diagnosis of PTSD. I've had an open request for a new therapist through the Loma Linda VA since November, and it still is not fulfilled. I have done a video about this. I went and found other means where I was able to get, in the interim, another therapist local to me, but it wasn't the VA who was helping me. But I do have some good news. A lot of our complaints, we had 4 congressmen here in the area of different parties all come together and work to get some accountability at the Loma Linda VA. And I can say this, as of, I believe it's about 2 weeks ago, the director of the VA was escorted out of the hospital and told not to return by the VA police. So we are doing things. We just have to, this is why it's important for us veterans to not shut the hell up. We have to talk. Use this platform, use other platforms, talk to your Congress people. That's how we get this done, is the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and let's be as squeaky as can be.
I want to ask, well, not ask, but I just want a point of clarification. The VA has their own police department?
They do. They have, there is VA police, and there's a couple reasons for it. they are augmented also by private security, but yes, they do have their own
Oh well, that's a relief.
law enforcement. uh, I believe a
I
lot
know
of it
before we
comes to we actually
go ahead.
have VA court, which is actually a very good thing. So for you veterans watching who don't know about VA court is it's to stop veteran recidivism. So if you get a DUI or you're busted for
Well,
drugs,
wait a minute. When you say VA court, are you like so? Here in Minnesota, there are veterans courts, but those are all handled at the county level. They're not handled by the VA.
uh, some the VA are handled. Each state does do it differently. I can tell you,
Are you talking about like potential federal charges, or so the
state
VA has
charges?
their own court at the
State charges.
really?
The state, at least here in California, because it's the one I have the most knowledge about. The state, if you
Well, who would
petition,
trust the court systems in Cali anyway?
well, if you're busted for anything in California, you can petition the court and say, "Hey, I'd like to go to VA court," and you're going to go in front of a magistrate. Most times, it's a former JAG officer who's retired, and you'll then go in front of them, talk about what it is, all the things that led up to whatever you did, and you're most likely going to walk out with probation and treatment. And as long as you fulfill the uh, whatever the magistrate prescribes, you actually can keep that criminal record off of your record.
Um, Interesting. I did not realize that the VA actually had a court system as well. I hope that operates better than the medical.
So far, I've heard nothing but good things for people, and I have talked to a couple people who've been on multiple sides of it, people who've recommended people to VA court, lawyers who've recommended people to VA court, and people who've actually gone through it. And so far, all good things. From what I understand, it has been a successful program in general.
I do have one other thing, and this is just a quick aside, but it's very important. So the last couple of weeks, we've had Heather Baker on, along as, with her attorney, Daniel. We did not do our episode last night on my channel. We're going to do that next week. But I have become aware of former soldiers who have been, and so do what you want with this. This is Veteran Nation. We are supposed to be in, we all have our struggles. We all have different levels of integrity issues that we have to address. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is above reproach 100%. We're all doing something at some time. And the old saying, show me a law, I can show you somebody that's violating it right away. All that aside, I have become aware of someone who was assigned to the same unit as Heather's son, Caleb, who is using his contact with Caleb as a means to try and swindle money from Heather and others. And I want you to understand this. If you do happen to catch this, that's disgusting. You do not ever deserve to wear the title veteran. It is a title of honor. It is a title of dignity. It is a title of responsibility. And I'll be God damned if you, as an 82nd Airborne soldier, are going to get away with this. In a metaphorical sense, I will find you, I will verify this, and I will embarrass the piss out of you. And I will put every veteran I know, and trust me, between Skipper and I, we know a lot of veterans. We will put them in the realm of embarrassing you. Because it's not just Heather you've done this to. There are others.
And I'm
Stop now.
especially protective of the Gold Star parents because they've been through enough.
This is your chance. Stop now. Apologize. Delete your social media. Start over. Whatever you need to do. But don't you ever do this to Heather or any other Gold Star family, parent, mom, dad, whatever. Don't you ever do this again.
We have ways.
Because I will embarrass you. Okay, no, Skipper, what did you... I'm sorry, I haven't had that was a mini rant. I haven't done that for a while.
Oh, no. Oh, and I got a feeling we'll have more rants on today's show. But yeah, there are ways that if someone's doing something that's not right, that we will do, not even embarrassing type of things. Like, there are actionable things that we can do if you are not treating our veteran or Gold Star communities correctly. And I am not afraid of using them. I've done FBI complaints. I've done local complaints, like police report type of stuff. I've reported people to the IRS. I've reported people to, I'm trying to think, DEA before. We're all about helping here, but the moment that we get wind of someone, we've got a whole playlist on our YouTube about harassment and corruption. And if you're doing either of those two, we're coming after you. We're not gonna back off. So we don't stand for that type of stuff.
No.
And I think that's...
Skipper, this shirt fits me really nice. I don't know if you notice it, but it's really nice on me.
I'm glad. In fact,
black's my color. I'm svelte.
Let's pray. I put in a media request today for an event. One here in California. Hopefully they accept it. I'll be, if it is, I'll be traveling up to Sonoma, California for the NASCAR race up there next month. And we hope to take Veteran Nation on the road and do more things like that. So, a little bit of a teaser.
Who are you teasing? How does this happen? I'm officially the vice president of the nonprofit. I got a T-shirt. That's it. I got a T-shirt, folks.
That's more than what I got. I had to pay for this.
You're going on a trip. You're going to Sonoma to a NASCAR race.
Right now, it's going to be out of my own pocket. We are a nonprofit, folks, so if you go to veterannationfoundation.com, you can help us raise money to send me on more and more trips. No, help us raise money so that we can get the word out there.
You get to go on a cruise.
I got to pay for that cruise. And that cruise, ladies and gentlemen, that cruise is going to be November 10th to the 17th. We're going to be leaving from Los Angeles, California. Yeah, I know. But we'll be going to ports of call in Mexico. We're going to Cabo San Lucas. So that should be fun. We'll be going to Mazatlan, and we'll go to Puerto Vallarta. And if you'd like to go, send an email to veteranNation@protonmail.com. I will be collecting up everything, and then that will be November 10th to the 17th. The starting prices for the rooms per person are $860, 2 people to a room.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why here at Veteran Nation, we are a nonprofit, and TC going nowhere. But I do want to add before we segue into our next topic, because this will be apropos to what I'm going to say. Our next topic is we here at Right America Media are blessed to have partnered with MyPillow, which is here in my home state of Minnesota, and Mike Lindell has some experience with the topic that we're going to talk about tonight. But Mike has so graciously offered anybody who's a viewer of Right America Media a discount. And Skipper, how do they get that discount?
All you have to do is go to mypillow.com and use promotion code RAM, R-A-M.
Unscripted, folks. That's what we do. We don't practice this. All this magic happens spontaneously.
More magic than
If you
Disney
can watch
nowadays.
the train wreck that if you can watch the train wreck that Skipper and I are, and believe in evolution, you are more power to you.
This show is not intelligently designed.
So, Skipper, what did you want to talk about tonight? I'm sure everybody saw it on the thumbnail.
Well, yeah. Oh, and who comes? I'm about ready to talk about this, but we have Conspiracy Kitty. Conspiracy Kitty, who's here to tell us about the most recent conspiracy. This is one that's been going for several months, about a year, and I want to be a part of it. I
almost two that it's been public.
Oh, is it okay? It's been two. I didn't look at a timeline, but the FBI, okay, the FBI is creating its own little groups, and the one that I want to talk about is one called Patriot Front, and it's a bunch of FBI agents pretending to be they're cosplaying.
Allegedly.
Yeah, they're allegedly trying to be white supremacists, and so this is a really cool cosplay.
Skipper, they're allegedly FBI agents. We can't say it for a fact, but they're allegedly FBI agents or allegedly FBI informants. Somewhere in that group, I'd say for. Well, Juan, why don't you play the video and then I'll give my numbers.
I like the color coordination because if nothing screams white supremacy like color coordinated khakis.
Well, the irony is, let's just go with Skipper's hypothesis that this is actually an FBI organization. I mean, operation made up of agents and informants. If we're gonna do a percentage breakdown, so like if you guys go over to my channel, I had Christina from Radix Verum, who is covering the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping, is getting ready to release a documentary about the operation that took down these kidnappers, and I've also had Ken Silva on to talk about Operation PatCon from the 80s and into the 90s. When you think about how all of these operations work, the chances are that in that video that we just watched, 1 out of every 10 of the people in that formation that was marching is actually there because they think they've joined a legitimate patriot organization. The rest of them are there all working together against the one person who they probably just found sitting in a coffee shop somewhere and said, hey, how would you like to be part of a patriot organization? I can almost guarantee it. And these guys are stellar in their operations. They're so good. Like when they went out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and they were going to counter-protest a trans activist rally in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I don't know why Coeur d'Alene, Idaho ended up being a hotbed of trans activism, if you know anything about Coeur d'Alene. Yes, and they will set up as terrorists. Absolutely, yeah, precisely. They will set that one person up to take a fall, and none of them. They'll all be unindicted co-conspirators too.
Yeah.
But they went out to Coeur d'Alene to the Patriot Front did, and they were so clandestine about their operation that they all piled out of their one hotel that they were all staying at sharing rooms in their garb and loaded into the back of a U-Haul or a Ryder truck rental thing, and were all witnessed by people who then called the local law enforcement organizations on the guys who were loading into this vehicle to go and counter-protest, and they were all arrested. Now, I don't know what they were arrested for, but none of those people have ever... I have not been able to track down anything that was ever charged criminally or whatnot. But, folks,
here's one thing I'll say. If you noticed in that clip, and we've got another clip and you'll see it, they had police protection. Now, white supremacists, I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, and there's a couple famous cases of, the Nazis coming to speak in Toledo. That's not uncommon for them to get police protection. However, whenever you require that, you have to get a permit. These guys don't have permits. So how are they getting police protection? Because if you do a permit, you literally have to put down someone's name as an official on that permit. And that's public record. Yeah, but
DC Metro Police.
Yep, no permits. No permits for this stuff. And, we can do open records requests. I'm happy to do them if viewers want me to. But, yeah, they're not going to come up with any records. They'll be like, yeah, we don't have records of any permits of that. But here's one thing I do. So everyone knows who watches the show, I like to do my little... my 30-second pitches for Hollywood and stuff like that. I have an affinity for the entertainment industry, and for that, I have written an open letter to the FBI, actually Patriot Front, because I think I have enough acting abilities, I could be a member of the organization. So here's my open letter.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Skipper's I Want to Be a Glowy letter.
An open letter to the FBI. I have seen the videos of your actors in Patriot Front. These videos are inspirational, and I would like to join you on your campaign of working to deny law-abiding Americans their civil rights. So I am submitting my acting resume for your consideration to join your campaign of tyranny and fear. So we're going to go through my acting resume. So at the age of 7, I played the lead as Johnny Appleseed in a wordless pantomime school play. The ages of 8 and 9, I was a motionless witness to Jesus' birth in a living nativity at my local church. At the age of 16, I was in the chorus of the middle school production of Oklahoma. I don't know if you plan on doing any type...
Wait. You were still in middle school at 16?
No, 13. Did I say 16? I'm 13.
You said 16.
Sorry.
So, folks, now you know why I'm working with a deficit here. Skipper was still in middle school at 16. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, 8th grade, I was in the chorus of the middle school production of Oklahoma. From the ages of 10 to 15, I was in the church select choir. I don't know if any of your roles have any singing or dancing abilities, but I do bring some skills to the table. And then finally...
You were in the church select choir.
Yes,
You were
the
in
select
church
choir. Yes.
Well, there is a psalm that says, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord." It doesn't say "make a good noise." It says "make a joyful noise."
I believe I remember that from the movie Footloose. Wasn't that Kevin Bacon singing and dancing unto the Lord? And the final thing I'm submitting for my acting resume is at the age of 30, I pretended to be my brother's former boss for his resume when he applied for another position. So I have all those qualifications, plus some that I didn't list here. You could say that, my time as an officer in the military made me a good actor, because I did have to tell people what a good job they were doing, routinely. It's a morale thing. But hopefully, share this, send it to Christopher Ray. I would love to be a member of their organization. If I have to bring my own khakis, I do have some. I I can buy a plate carrier. Uh, I do have a hat where I can put a patch on it. I've got my own Oakleys, the M style. We can do this, TC.
No, what's this we crap? I don't want in on this. And I just want Juan to know, when I tell Juan that he's doing a good job, I'm not acting. But after what you just said, Skipper, I don't know if anybody can, when you're like, hey, good job tonight, Juan. Hey, good job tonight, TC. I don't know if we can believe you. I'm not sure.
I am what they call the untrusty narrative in the, or narrator in the entertainment industry.
FBI, open up!
FBI, we're not leaving till you come out. FBI, have you heard the good news?
FBI, can we come in and share a quick message?
FBI, UPS delivery.
FBI, honey, come out! It's me, your mom!
FBI, open up. So your browser history, see what's up. Get your front door down, taking
Oh, I
you
wish there was a
downtown in
video
big
for
black
this.
armored truck. We are the FBI, that's a crime. Getting Minecraft free online. Incognito mode cannot stop us, bro. We can watch you anytime. But we're behind your house, in the alleyway. Because you're watching the too much anime. Police station, just a block away. Anime boobies, every day you view these. We can see, boy, what you're searching. You got a good name.
If we share this enough, if we share this episode to all your friends and family,
We're going to get swatted. That's what's going to happen.
I could end up like Elvis. I could be in Biden's Oval Office being given an FBI badge.
Folks, this is entertainment that you don't have to pay for.
We
We
don't
wish
have
you would.
writers for this show, just us. We do it ourselves.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
FBI, open up!
FBI, we're not leaving till you come out. FBI, have you heard the good news?
FBI, can we come in and share a quick message?
FBI, UPS delivery.
FBI, honey, come out! It's me, your mom!
FBI, we're your neighbor.
FBI? Are you mad at us? FBI, oh, hello. I hope this isn't a bad time.
FBI, have you seen this man before?
Nope.
FBI, okay?
FBI, thank you so much for your time. FBI, open up!
Have you guys seen the video of the ATF showing up at the business in the parking lot of a business of a guy who sells mounts and whatnot for special forces and special operations operators, and they're there to call him out on having quick reset trigger pieces, and he stands them down right there in the parking lot.
I may have seen that one.
Juan's eating. Juan's eating and it's going, I know what he's, yeah, I can find it in the interim. So I know that Skipper and I are doing this to, poke fun, but I mean, we're really kind of at that point, friends, where you guys have to. I keep getting myself in trouble on my own channel with this. My channel is doing fine. The YouTube does not know how to handle TC, I'll tell you that. Because they want to be able to, like, strike me and, flag me. But I keep talking about things from a conservative, paleo-libertarian perspective about the things that they love about the left. Police reform, ending civil asset forfeiture, ending no-knock, warrants, and they want to like hate me. The left wants to hate me. The right's starting to hate me. I've got people on both sides are calling me, "You're a leftist commie," and they all want to hate me, and I enjoy it, probably because it's funny and it's entertaining to just get them. Then I get them arguing with each other, but nobody knows how to deal with it.
So,
but the reality of this is that, especially for those of us that are veterans, and especially on Tuesday night being, military night on Right American Media, we all got to wake up and remember the oaths that we swore. And that's why we're poking fun at this, because the FBI has become a joke. The FBI has become a joke.
It's political
all the federal
organization.
law enforcement agencies have become a joke, but the problem is that's bleeding down into major metro areas and even small areas with all of the garbage that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't know how to process it. They're guilty of what's referred to as a sunk cost fallacy. Especially conservatives, which I know a ton of people on maybe on the right side of the spectrum politically, watch our content, and they are very much absolutely 100% back to blue at all costs, and they don't know how to back off of that and understand and recognize that while we might disagree with the motives and the reasoning that the left has for wanting to defund police, there is an argument to be made from a conservative perspective, from a Republican perspective, if you will, for massive overhaul of policing by the way of reform and emphasizing training in the constitutional duties, which are first and foremost their primary duty.
Mm-hmm.
The courts have ruled that law enforcement across the board at all levels have no duty to protect you. They've ruled that.
Yeah.
That a cop can literally see you being injured, and they do not have a duty to put their life at risk for that. So that leaves us with one thing and one thing only, and that's the very first thing that they swear an oath to keep and defend the Constitution of the Republic of the United States. That's the primary thing in their oath. And that's failing. And that's what we're seeing over and over and over again within the entire scope of law enforcement as an institution in the United States. And this video that Juan's got up here ready to play is going to demonstrate this. So folks, I'm going to be quiet and let this play out. You need to listen to the first few minutes of this, because this gentleman is a phenomenal constitutionalist, and there's something that's said in this that's going to absolutely blow you away if you're paying close enough attention.
So the reason why we're here is because I'm sure you're aware that just recently the ATF classified the FRTs, the force reset triggers, as machine guns.
Yeah.
So we are aware that you may have purchased some of these FRTs.
Okay.
So now we are having, like, the whole agency is basically reaching out to these purchasers.
That's incredible.
And we have to pick them up. They're illegal.
So I won't be answering any questions today. I don't have any comments on this subject. I won't be giving you anything.
Okay, so you
Are you refusing to give us the trigger?
I'm not refusing anything. I won't be answering any questions.
Okay. But okay, so we are aware that you did purchase FRTs. Again, you wouldn't be in trouble if you just gave those up to us, or
Okay.
if you sold them, you can tell me you sold them.
Sure. Okay.
And you're not going to be in trouble for that.
I understand.
So we're just here, honestly, like, just to pick them up.
Sure. Sure. It's a bigger conversation than what you're having right now. You decide as you go the rules, right?
Again, that's not something I decide.
It's not. I know. You guys are just here. You guys are just here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all.
I understand.
I don't want to be here any more than you want me to
Sure.
be here.
The problem is you are the people who go and knock on the doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they make new laws and you break them, or you go against the citizens, because they've spoken what they buy and what they do, the citizens are speaking, but the government is making their decisions on what they think. They're not being servants to the citizens, right?
And all we're saying is, you know, like, I mean, we, like you said, you know, we just we are the ones that just come and knock on the door. We just enforce the laws. We don't make the laws. So
Sure, I
you
understand.
know, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're not in trouble. I mean,
No,
you
I
didn't buy
understand
them,
that.
You know.
No, I didn't do anything wrong. Exactly. That's yeah. I love good law-abiding cops who are good people, who are doing what they do, and I understand you have families to feed. You're just doing what you're told, so you don't get fired from your job. But there is a problem that exists, and at some point you have to make your decision on which side of the team you're on. So I won't be answering any questions. If I'm not being detained, I'm not under arrest, I'll just be leaving now.
Okay.
I won't be able to help you with what you're trying to find.
So, and just to be clear, so then now you know that if you were to be in possession of these FRGs, then you would be basically breaking the law.
The ATF claims that they're making rules, but there's been no vote. There's been no congressional hearing that says you have the law. You don't make law, right?
I don't.
Yeah, the ATF doesn't make law.
Again,
No.
but it's.
I don't want. Listen, right now I seem like a huge dick. Like I'm like fuck you guys, but I really don't feel that way at all. Mm-hmm. I just can't, in good faith, when I make the gear for every high-end special operations unit in America right now. That's all I do. That's all I do is support these freedom fighters. A lot of law enforcement SWAT guys. I can't take part in an overstep past the line that says this is or is not legal. Just because you have a badge, you can still do crimes, right?
Right.
So if the American people feel like, the ATF is committing crimes right now, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Don't tread on me.
Okay.
Those are words that I stand by, homie.
Okay, thank
It doesn't
you.
mean I'm gangster. It doesn't mean I'm country. It means that my life is in my hands only. I don't have money for security.
So I have not seen that one before. That one's new for me. The one I thought you were referring to.
It gives me goosebumps just
Yeah.
listening to him, and the fact that they know they're wrong.
Yeah.
They know they're wrong,
but they're following
folks,
it anyway.
I cannot. Folks, you have to understand this. I have a brother who's still in law enforcement. When I say a brother, I don't mean like a guy I call my brother. I don't mean like the dude across the street who might be black and a cop. Not that kind of brother. I don't mean a guy I went to church with.
He's not talking about a new Sesame Street character they just made.
I have a brother in law enforcement, has been in law enforcement for over 20 years. The things that I say are not directed at any one individual. These are things that put me at risk in relationships and friendships. I've got people I worked with for almost 13 freaking years who will not talk to me anymore. Because, and they know they're being asked every day to do things that violate their oath, and they're so concerned about keeping their jobs that they will not stand up.
Yeah.
They won't. And others out there are so far behind them because we've always backed them that we can't call them out. And this is why we're going to lose the fight for reform to the Marxist left. Because the Marxist left is not afraid to push a narrative that's untrue. They're not afraid to push a narrative that's untrue.
Agreed.
We need to push a true narrative, which is we need to back them up when they're willing to stand on their oaths and tell them that we'll get their backs. But they have to stand on their oaths, and they need the training. And nobody will do it. And that's why we're dealing with the crap that we see with the FBI. Juan's getting ready to come in. We got Juan fired up. You know, Juan's fired up when he comes in.
He's got to swallow all his sunflower seeds before he comes in. You're catching him like mid cake bite.
Peanuts,
Oh,
guys. I enjoy your show, so I didn't make any popcorn, so I just grabbed the peanuts so I can.
You know what would go
watching.
really good with your peanuts, Juan?
I'm just about to run out of my last bag, so. Anyway, you know, it's funny you guys are talking about this because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, actually another member, staff writer for Rad America Media, and he was talking in reference to the Durham report. You know, that essentially says FBI screwed up 1,000 ways, and to pretty much said, you know, Trump was innocent, but they continue on. And my answer to him was, what really worries me is there's lower level FBI agents that are not creating the plans or creating the strategy, so on and so forth, but they are lower level em- FBI employees and agents that are actually executing those illegal plans and strategies and not doing anything about it. And that's just one agency. And I mean, we can mention 1,000 agencies right now, and those two agents in the ATF, knowingly that what they're doing is illegal, they continue to do the illegal things. The sad thing is, my conversation with my friend, that that's what it comes down to. It's like people will do what they're told, and man, I'm gonna put myself out there in the limb, but wasn't that the defense of many German soldiers, right? And said, well, I just did what they told me to do, so I did it. Well, God, I thought we Americans were better than that, and now that's what we're doing. We're using.
For those not familiar, read up on what's known as the Stanford Prison Experiment, which was done in Stanford, where they built a fake prison. People will absolutely hurt people who they know are completely innocent of crimes and stuff like that, all because they were told you can.
Yep. Actually, there was a video experiment. Kind of an update to that, and it was very, very quick. Actually, I got it. It was a professor. I believe he actually videotaped this, and he went to his class, and told them he put some nice little fuzzy little animal and stuff like that in the middle of the room, and kind of in a bad setting. And he told the students, you do not talk, you do not move, you do not do anything to liberate this little animal. If you do, I will, you're done with the class. You get an F, you fail, blah, blah. And he walked out. And for a long period of time, nobody did anything until one person stood up and said, F this class, F this professor, I'm going to take this little animal out of this. But the rest of the class didn't do anything.
And that student, female, by the way, that female stood up, and that professor, she ended up acing that class because he was, it's, you guys, Juan and Skipper, you guys are familiar with the Milgram experiment, I'm sure.
Is that the one out of Yale? Where they gave the electric shocks?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
The Milgram experiment is another great study in human nature, because what it does is it pits followers versus authority figures, and it shows us that we will very often, that it's a rarity in people to refuse to follow the directives of an authority figure, no matter what the consequences are. And a lot of people will say to themselves, well, I would never do that. I would stand up. And then when they're put in a position to do it, to actually have to do it and stand up, they find that they won't. And that's what the Milgram experiment does. People were like willing, under the direction of even somebody just wearing a lab coat claiming to be a doctor, were willing to deliver potentially lethal voltage, amperage, to these actors on the other side of the screen, because somebody in authority told them to. And I just had a conversation last week with the individual. We were talking about Minnesota's draconian gun laws. And he goes, well, it doesn't affect me, I don't own guns. I said, well, what if your neighbor won't answer the door, and the cops come and say, hey, we know your neighbor has firearms. We have this order to take them. We need you to help us. Let us know when he's home. Would you do it? No, I wouldn't do it. What if they told you were going to go to jail for failing to follow, their directives and not help them. And he goes, well, if I'm going to go to jail, then yeah, I'd tell him.
Well,
And
I have what I consider is really good example that happens every day, multiple times a day, that I'm aware of because I see it all the time. When you see one person beating up another person, what does the people around them do?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, look at Daniel Penny
Mm-hmm.
on the subway in New York.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the exception, right? There's a man that actually did something right.
3 of them actually. Three individuals.
Three individuals.
Three individuals.
Yeah.
Three individuals.
But
One
did
white,
something right.
one was black, one was Hispanic. I mean, we covered all the bases. All we needed
Yeah.
was well, never mind. That would get me in trouble.
Yes. So anyway, we are
Go ahead.
teaching the generations, our society, to not do anything, not to do the right thing. But bring that up, right?
And
So,
that's why
well,
this video, everyone should be recording any interaction you have with law enforcement. And this video
You
is
should be recording any interaction you have with anybody in any position of authority these days.
true.
Any public
as long as
service,
it's
any
legal.
public sector employee. It is legal.
Well,
Public sector employees have no.
public sector is always legal.
Public sector employees of any kind have no expectation of privacy in the conduct of their job.
Yes.
None.
So
None.
CPS, ATF, anybody, they come to your door, you start recording.
You go to the tax assessor's office and they tell you can't record. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. You got cameras all over in here. I mean.
Yep.
The plain view doctrine works both ways.
Works better for us actually, but what one it's you brought up the camera thing and I've had people make smart ass comments to me, not that I've ever made smart ass comments to anyone myself, but they've made smart ass comments to me about, oh, you just walk around shoving your camera in people's face, and I'm like, well, first of all, I don't just like shove my camera in people's face. But if you think back to the end of January when I had that situation play out at the University Center in Rochester, Minnesota, and you had shared the story with a couple of other the shows on the network, and the reactions that I've got, not from my audience or even talking about it here on Veteran Nation, but from some of the people in the audience of the 2 shows that I was on, where there was a lot of great support, like, wow, I can't believe this is happening, and others were like, well, you needed to listen, you needed to comply, you just need to, when a cop tells you to do something, you do it no matter what. The place to fight that later on is after it's over. And I think, those of us that have been in the military, you guys in a command structure, position, and me as a, just kind of an order follower, we understand the difference between lawful orders and reasonable expectations. But I don't know, I'm pretty sure that you guys all had the same experience that I did. It was always, you follow every lawful order within the keeping of your duty, and there is no expectation to follow any illegal or unlawful or unconstitutional directive you're given. That's beat into your head from day one, is my understanding. Now, I'm assuming that's across the board the same in the Navy, Air Force, Marines, even the Space Force. But am I wrong? Isn't that not something that you guys carried with you away from your time in service, or is it not something that's talked about much anymore?
I will say, when I went through my ROE training, rules of engagement, it was very heavy on, you have to follow only lawful orders. And if you're given an unlawful order, you have a duty to resist against it and to report it. And you know, of course, I had gotten this training after major events like Abu Ghraib. So maybe, you know, people before me got different training, but that was what I got.
I agree with you. The key of that sentence is lawful order. I think the sad thing is that that has gone out the window, even though they say, well, it's going to be any lawful order that you have to obey, but I determine what's lawful.
Yeah. And we've seen that recently with the jab and with conscientious objectors. You know, very quickly the military did not care what your religious what your religious proclivities were when it came to getting the shot.
Well, it wasn't only the religious thing. Actually, it was also that it was an experimental vaccine that never had through clearance and tested thoroughly. And we all know that there is a big law there that says you cannot test experimental vaccines into in the armed forces.
Yeah, yeah. And there are lawsuits starting on that. They are moving.
Yep, and that vaccine was as experimental as it gets.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, soldiers and other service members are all used to just, you know, lining up in the day room, bending over the couch and getting the shot in the butt of the gamma globin. Okay.
Peanut
Trying
butter
to explain
shot.
to people what it feels like. Huh?
The peanut butter shot.
Yeah, it's the peanut. Yeah, it's what's it like to get that shot? It's like getting a shot of cold peanut butter straight in your ass cheek. And they're like, "Why do you know what it feels like to get a shot of cold peanut butter in your ass cheek?" I said, "Don't ask." Yeah, well, I don't know. We pick on this Patriot Front stuff just because sometimes the best way to dismantle something is through mockery.
Absolutely.
You just
and you know, I'll give a quick shout out
call
to
it out for the utter trend.
In the comments, my good friend Pirate Calypso, he gave me a shout out in the comments, and I'm going to shout him out. He wants to know when I'm going to be back to Twitter, and I am off Twitter because I mock people like this. As TC knows, I do lots of trolling, and I will take every, especially when it's government people, I'll take every opportunity to make fun of them to their face.
So, lest anybody thinks that Skipper and I are overreacting to the apparent police escort given to the Patriot Front as they marched, we do have evidence that not only were they escorted while they were out marching, but they were escorted back to a government employee. If I understand correctly, the place they were escorted to is only accessible by government employees. Am I correct? Is that not the narrative that's been put out?
So it looked to me like it was one of the government, one of the major metro stops in DC, where all the government employees go. I don't know if it was the Pentagon or I believe there's one for the Supreme Court. I don't know which one, but it was clearly one of the metro stops. Yeah. Oh, we've got video of it, so yeah, we could show you. So yeah, no civilians were allowed to follow.
I don't know what else we need to say to this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I had a conversation with somebody today, kind of along this topic about the left and the right, and you know the right wanting to or the left wanting to defund police, and me saying like, The left is going to win this argument if the right doesn't come up with valid arguments for reform, not defunding, but for reform.
Mm-hmm.
And without fail, the person that took after me was supposedly on the right, just doubled down about how the law enforcement would never take part in any of this kind of stuff. They would never do any of these things. Folks, this is this is
Ruby
so,
Ridge.
Like,
they did it at Ruby Ridge.
You know, and I know I shill for my own show on here. I go and check out my conversations with Ken Silva and Radix Verum and Richard Booth and Jose Gaizon from Tower Gang Jose. Different conversations about this very topic. Look, there is a reality check for us, and if you missed it, Juan, play that video one more time. It's so short. Just leave the volume, leave our mics on. They're going down an escalator that, if this is a public escalator, it's not a government employee only escalator or stairs or whatever it is. These people should be allowed to follow them. Freedom of speech. But here we are. Here we are. People are yelling at them, but police are blocking the ability of other people in the public to go down to what should be a publicly funded public transportation. So that leaves us with one of two options. That's it. They're either protecting them and restricting people from an area that they have every legitimate natural right to be in, or these guys were just given the opportunity to go down a private exit to a private platform to get on a private form of transportation to go somewhere after all of this. That's what you're left with. This is either they're feds or they're feds. That's it. That's all we have to go on. And we can quote statistics and stats all day long, but what are you going to believe? Somebody who can quote stats, which statisticians are amazing to me. I don't do that kind of math. I don't do math at all. But at some point, you have to wake up. Stop looking at statistics. Stop looking at what you've always looked at and saying to yourself, I've always held this position, and start saying, it's time for a fundamental paradigm shift. I don't have to be blind in my allegiance just because I'm on the right side of the spectrum, or I'm a vet, or whatever. That doesn't mean you have to be on the left either. You don't have to go to that extreme. You can be a reasonable, logical individual who approaches these conversations and says, enough's enough. Do we mock them? Sure. Do I say glowy all the time? Yeah, because you know what? There's a lot of glowies out there. And if you don't know what a glowy is, look up Ray-Apps. That's glowy.
I do want to shift a little bit here because I had one of the fans of the show reach out. He's a veteran, and I told him that I would happily plug his business. So Sean from Patriot Global Travel, he has a company. He owns a travel company that works with all types of clients. Emphasis on veterans and first responders who want to get out and see the world. He finds the best prices and value for your hard-earned money, so you can have a stress-free, incredible, well-deserved vacation with your family. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, and Rumble at Patriot Global Travel. So thank you, Sean, for reaching out to us, and everybody check out his company and do some traveling.
Tell him to get a hold of me.
Actually, he did offer to send us some shirts to wear on the show, so I'll make sure I'll make sure that I get us some.
It'll double my pay.
See, you didn't even a month ago. You got nothing. Now, your cup overfloweth.
I got 2 pay raises in the last month. No, tell him to reach out to me. See if we can get me an ad copy, and I'll do it for him.
Okay, yeah, definitely. But you plugging anything tonight?
Please buy my coffee. Or my beanies. My beanies.
You need some.
Or you could head
do-rags.
over to my Subscribe Star. I could use. I could use some more supporters on Subscribe Star. I've had a few people drop off. I can only chalk it up to some of my positions as of late. But I'm going to be doing something on my Subscribe Star that I know you're going to get a kick out of, and I'd like to be able to open it up to you, but you're not on Subscribe Star. But
I'm not.
If you're interested in seeing, and I'll give a little teaser. I'm Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast at Subscribe Star. I have, when I was put out on administrative leave by the sheriff's office in Olmsted County, when I was actually put under investigation, I started to do a daily video journal of my emotional state, my psychological state, how I was feeling physically, and all of that.
Dream journal.
I have that all saved. And what'd you say, Skipper?
Dream journal.
Yeah, my dream journal. Yeah. I did I did a daily diary, or several times a week diary kind of thing going on, and I'm going to be releasing that in small segments, available on my Subscribe Star only.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't plug my Subscribe Star here very often, but yeah, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast at Subscribe Star. So.
ATC, I'm glad you said that because that reminded me. I am going to start releasing my daily OnlyFans videos on Red American Media.
I actually do want to do an OnlyFans, but I want to give my OnlyFans would be just me giving dad advice, and I would invite people to buy subscriptions for the other people on OnlyFans because they need some dad advice. Strong male role models is what they need.
Got anything exciting for us next week that you can build anticipation for, so that
I've been talking with a couple people. Some people want to come on the show. It just we have to line things up. I will say this: we are getting a lot of traction in the last 30 days. We've had over 100 subscribers join our YouTube, so that is growing.
That's doubled our subscribers.
No, it actually hasn't. We were doing a pretty good job of growing. We had that channel for so long, and I just neglected it. I was just throwing videos up there, and it was an archive. But now I'm actually like, oh, I should probably work on the thumbnail. Oh, I should probably work on the description. You start doing that, and amazingly, all of a sudden we're getting subscribers. And I'm also pissing people off. So while I'm no longer trolling on Twitter,
you're not even intentionally trolling, then you're doing it. So
I did one this week where I talked about vegans. Why, if veganism, if meat is so bad, why are all the vegans' foods fake meat? So I did that one. People weren't too happy. Some people were like dead set on it, but not on YouTube. But that was mainly on Instagram where people were. But I'm
got me salivating talking about meat. I'm just drooling on myself.
But yeah, I am going to plug the Instagram tonight at Vet Nation Show. If you're not following us, follow us on Instagram. I put out a lot of stuff there. If you're following on Instagram, you're probably going to see the videos first because I find Instagram is a much better way to edit stuff, and then I push it out to YouTube. So, but if you follow both, most of the stuff will be on both. I just post a lot more memes on
we would appreciate
Instagram.
you following both. So, I may or may not be available next week because I think next week is the 23rd, and I have been invited to come and stream a event with former gubernatorial candidate Scott Jensen and some others here in Minnesota. So if Juan and I can communicate between now and then, maybe we could stream some of that as a correspondent, since I am the official Upper Midwest Regional correspondent and bureau chief for Red America Media. Maybe I should actually do something with it.
It would be fun.
And before,
let us know if you're going to preempt for streaming. That'd be good.
Yeah. Before we go, this week is actually National Law Enforcement Recognition, Appreciation Week. I want people to understand that I appreciate good officers, good deputies, good cops. I really do. I probably don't say it as much as I should these days. Some of that's on me, my experience, what I've been through in the last few years. But I do appreciate the good cops. I just define good cop differently than a lot of people do. And for those of you that are good, by my definition of good, and I think everybody watching will agree with me, a good cop is a cop who doesn't beat up people, he doesn't abuse people's constitutionally enshrined natural rights. That's the least you can do as a cop, is not do those things. You're a bad person if you do those things. A good cop's not the guy who doesn't take part in those things but doesn't say anything about it either, and then waits to confront the other guy until after the episode. A good cop, the people that deserve appreciation for doing that job here in this republic, are the ones in the middle of a conflict where they see a cop doing something they're not supposed to be doing, are willing to risk their job to call it out on the scene. On the scene. I appreciate you guys, and I will applaud every single one of you that I see taking a stand. My goal is not to go around and find find conflict and find bad cops. I want to find the good ones. That's what I want to find. And those are the ones I want to thank.
Oh. After I get a tie tied and have a presentation, and thought my buddy was home, but he's not, and I'm running behind ice.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why you looped down 8th Street and then back up 6th.
That's one of my good friends' house, and he knows how to tie ties, and I honestly don't know how to.
Where's he tie? While I do this, why don't you grab your proof of insurance and your driver's license quick? There, you should be able to adjust it.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually going home right after class after the presentation.
You're...
Public servant.
Yep.
I got nothing else.
All right, folks. Today's been a great episode. Thank you for joining us. Again, Patriot Global Travel on Facebook, Instagram, and Rumble. Friend of the show, Sean. Support his company. And thanks for joining us today. And as always, thank you for being worth serving.